For just some housekeeping stuff, if you have something to say, go ahead and hit the button and it's green. When you're done, and it's red on the
I'm Al.
Parish Barton.
Bruce West.
Dick Marshall.
Chad Miller.
Brian Torborg.
Dan Licht.
Cartro Cooper.
Tom Walter.
Teresa Barnes.
Jacqueline Fadler.
So FYI, they were going to start recording in June, so this is kind of the trial run of getting the information started. If you guys have any questions or anything that needs to be brought to the table, otherwise we will go to approving the agenda. Has everybody had an opportunity to see it and look at it? Joan had emailed it out, so everybody should have had the opportunity.
Did you ask about the claims forms?
The claims forms, has everybody got their claims form done for Joan? Thank you. Everyone? Perfect. Do I have a approval for? I'll make the motion to approve. Motion to approve and second it? Second. All right. All in favor, sign by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carries by the ayes. Agenda has been approved. So we also have approval of the last meeting's minutes. Is there any changes that anybody that was looking at? Otherwise, we'll just go ahead and proceed forward.
We don't have.
Here's one copy. Yep, they were emailed. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion.
Chad approved. Second. So we vote, all in favor for approving the minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay. Can't approve them if we can't see them.
They were sent out by email? I have mine by email.
We all got them by email.
We all got them by email.
They were sent by email.
Okay. Just withdraw my name.
Withdraw your name.
I don't get the emails.
So let's double check and make sure that you're from this point forward getting your information. Okay? All opposed again? Ayes, carry it. Okay. New business. The population and housing forecast that is in front of you.
So, Mr. Chair, this was just background information that the committee had asked about, looking at, what the future of Baldwin looks like in terms of population growth. So this regurgitates information that we had put together as part of the incorporation study, looking at the growth of Baldwin in the past relative to surrounding communities. Baldwin had relatively strong rate of growth comparable to communities further south of it. At the time of incorporation, Baldwin was the third largest township in the state, and it's now the 135th largest city based on population. The only kind of hiccup in the growth projections that you see is there was a slight actual decrease in population from 2020 to 2022, and that was because of an annexation of the mobile home park at the northeast corner of the city of Princeton. Otherwise, the growth, looking at kind of post Great Recession, was approximately 28 homes per year. The last 5 years have been 34 homes per year. And looking at the projections and kind of carrying that growth rate forward out to 2040, assuming that population growth remains stable, you're looking at adding approximately 600 new homes and 1,800 people to the community. We'd estimate that to be conservative because we expect growth is going to accelerate as development continues further north out of the Twin Cities, And then also, as the roadway improvements are completed on 169 South, making it easier to get here. So it's just going to increase the attractiveness of Baldwin as a destination for new housing. So that's kind of part of the reason that you look at these facilities is this is what exists to serve the community today. What's the community in the future that needs to be serviced in terms of the number of people coming in, attending meetings, coming to deal with city staff, voting, et cetera. And then also the space needs that you need for staff and equipment to accommodate those future populations. This was mainly for information and if anyone has questions.
Any questions from the group? I know I had a number of questions that were brought to my attention via email, text message, and stopping me at my other location of employment. And the questions were based on anywhere in our studies do we start looking at staffing, understanding that information and the problems that's being caused right now. A huge question about roads and keeps coming up in reference to what's being done, how it's gonna be done, how it's gonna be paid for, and what's being taken care of there. And the overall question of when we get into the project itself, the population of what's going on, how do we vet who's gonna build it? And the engineering process of the Q&A of individuals of just not blanket, whether we're just gonna go with this one versus looking at bids and cause and effect was brought to my attention.
So, Mr. Chair, on the staffing item in the incorporation report, it was addressed, looking at the current staff that Baldwin has and stating that it's adequate for current needs. There have been some staffing changes since Joan has come on, the administrative assistant has left. So that may be an issue that changes and adds people in the future. But that's something that the city council will need to be cognizant of going forward is looking at level of service here at City Hall, at the fire department and public works as to adding staff over time as needed. The intent for now is to maintain the staff as lean as possible with what's here, supplementing with contracted building official, contracted planner, contracted engineering, and contracted legal services. Because we can provide flexibility as needed without incurring, we can provide the level of service needed, but if there's no development, you don't need an engineer, you don't need a planner, and you don't need a building official. So those costs then fade away. And it also gives the ability to expand services over time as well. In terms of the road issue, that's an item that the Planning Commission looks at, kind of parallel to growth. What roads need to be enlarged to handle additional traffic capacity. The maintenance of it is a council matter handled as part of their capital improvement program. First is an inventory of road conditions and a priority of projects. And then working through the process to undertake improvements of those roads, including what would be considered regular maintenance of those roads. That's something that the council had worked hard on leading into the incorporation. One of the reasons for incorporation was the now state aid money that comes to the city because of its population being greater than 5,000, and that money can then be used for maintenance and reconstruction of existing roads. The council has a number of projects that they've made priority. They're working on putting together plans and specifications and acquisition of easements to undertake those projects, but it can be a more lengthy process than you would assume. It would be just because of all the pieces that have to be put together as part of a bid process. And then those projects are put out to bid. Lowest bidder wins and the project's undertaken. That process is similar to what's done for constructing a new city facility such as City Hall or a fire hall. The city can hire the architect, engineer it wants to do to develop the plans. Typically that's done by request for proposals and solicit bids, but they're not obligated to take the lowest bid for professional services. But once it goes to construction, then at that point it is lowest bid wins the construction of the project.
So they should bid the professional services.
They can do that, yes. Typically, you you'd issue the RFP, interview candidates, and select the firm that you would work with. Now, perhaps the council can outline how they started working with Brunton, but they're not necessarily bound to using Brunton going forward. They could choose to bring in another architect or project manager to undertake that.
At this point, any group questions? Without questions, we have no answers.
Is,
That was the study completed in 2024.
and that,
Yep.
17 million is not all right number.
I do,
Go ahead.
if people wanna look, I do actually have I'm sorry, thank you. I do have the most current paperwork on.
Can you share that?
Copies so everybody can take. a
Please,
look
at this
it.
point, share that.
So what was in your packet was the bubbles that we started with. This was the final thing where we were when we ended with them. Where this was the final building we changed, we moved, we added, we took out. This is where we were when we put it on hold for the incorporation.
cost was this one.
For the whole thing?
Yeah, thanks.
We have on the other one.
I don't know what it would be now. But at that time, for the fire station, the combination was 14 million. City Hall. 5/22 of 23, it was the last thing we did.
From that point, it went up to 17, I believe.
I don't know how it went up, because we never did anything with them yet. I think that was people throwing numbers out.
Season figures that the city council.
Okay, let's,
So Brian, that's fire, city hall, and maintenance also, or not?
Nope, that was not.
Just fire and city hall?
Yeah. At that time.
Chief, I believe.
Chief, please.
I can answer a little bit of that. So the main station, currently the cost
Where did we get the 17 million?
17 million was because they added on a separate maintenance facility. A whole new startup on that maintenance facility.
Okay.
That 17 million is kind of misnomer.
This doesn't
It's
have
a
the,
brand new maintenance facility that we're,
this doesn't have the maintenance.
the maintenance would be on the separate building separate. That would not be on it.
So we can let the 17 million go right this moment. Question?
What did you say? I said it wasn't a part of that amount that you were
The
mentioning.
amount I was mentioning did not include the maintenance facility.
If it's shown here on this
I
plan,
think in the plans, it was about 4 million to add on to it.
Okay, so
Picked it up to the 17 million
okay.
dollars.
Yeah, 4 million. Approximately.
Okay. So at the present time, we're working on the information that we have available. It does not include the maintenance facility, so we're not at the 17 million we probably are now just because of the delay of building.
Like I said, I talked to the main architect.
So-
From just 3 weeks,
So approximately 3
325 to 350.
to 350 a square foot. Okay. Mayor?
Mr. Chair, yeah, if I may, I'll digress just a
So what you're saying is you did good research and development to try to put numbers together so you could put a plan together for the future? Sure. And that wasn't a projected destination, you're just trying to figure out how to get there?
Correct.
Okay. Chris?
Question for the mayor. Mayor, with all the numbers that were going around, you commented about the site here, and I think it's 10 acres? Okay. And did anybody put a number to what this site would be, quote, sellable for,
We
or
have
saleable for?
the next step in doing that would literally be an appraisal,
I didn't know if any numbers were.
and we didn't go that far. We have had a couple of
Mr. Mayor, did you by chance put together a combined theory process of this being the maintenance location and that being the facility down there?
We had actually, and the council, well, it was the board at the time, really never had a lot of in-depth discussion. That was a thought, you know, that was a thought, as you've discussed, what do we do with this building? We turn it sell it, we could sell this, we could move maintenance in. Already own it, we don't have to rebuild it. Then a new facility that would be quote fire department. I didn't want to throw that at you guys earlier because I want to.
Thank you, no, that's positive information that helps in a lot of different ways of the questions that aren't being answered.
If you look at the table 3, this report, we can hear you.
Unmic yourself, yeah.
269.01, and you look at page 3, and you look at the 10-year estimates on the households in 2040, it goes from 2791 down to 2071, which is a 17% drop in 10 years. To me, this looks like a
Mr. Chair, it's a typo.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Yep.
But, okay, I guess my point kind of is, you know, if we're seeing this kind of population growth, 9 to 10%, if you do the math on 2022 to 2030, the population growth is 9%, the household growth is an 11% growth. It seems like it should be incrementally, whatever we, you know, recommend to add, it should be like a 10% incremental growth on that building out there.
That doesn't make sense.
Why not?
How can you do an incremental growth of 10% now when you're gonna have to have a building for 10 years? So if you're gonna do 10%, you're gonna be a higher percentage of what you're gonna grow that building.
Well, if you say your current location is okay, I guess that's the crux of my point is, okay, if we're okay where we're at now, then 10 years from now, or 8 years from now, we should add 10% to that structure over there, infrastructure, to get to the 2030 projected growth rate.
I would agree if we were okay right now, though.
Are we not okay? I guess I would ask the group. I mean,
There's safety issues in the fire station for starters. There's
There are.
safety issues in this building for starters. So if you catch up to where we're at, we're already behind probably 100%.
but the last time the question was asked, are there any injury reports in this building or that building? And the answer was, there are none. Okay, granted, the team is probably really good at doing what they're doing, and therefore they're not causing injuries, but, I mean,
Let me ask you a question. How big was your office space where you worked?
pretty darn small.
No, just square footage wise, how big was it?
Maybe 10 by 10.
10 by 10. So do you think his fire person has a 10 by 10 space in order to be successful in the space that he's working in?
No, they're tight. I agree they're tight. I'm
And
just
they're already
saying,
obsolete.
well, then we should see some problems, right? We should see an injury report. We should see something that would tell us that they can't do what they need to do. And there's been no information shown to the group here that says that space and that space has caused a problem. When you go out there and walk it, I totally agree. You go, wow, this is tight, but somehow they're doing it. And,
Mr. Chair? So first off, I don't think there's a direct correlation between population growth percentage and space growth, because you can't equate the space growth to the size of a truck or an office, et cetera. In terms of the existing facilities, what we talked about at the last meetings was the space challenges in this facility that Public Works has, that Fire has. I mean, the ambulance is sitting outside because there's no room in the building. The firefighters are piled on top of each other. The Public Works guys are over there because they don't have space here for lockers. So the people that work here in the committee have seen the space challenges. So the next kind of step in the process was what Brunton did to say, based on your existing people and what you expect in the next 10 to 20 years for people, because you're dealing with a 20 to 30-year building program, that this is the space you need. So then the question is, does the committee, in reviewing that space need, believe those are the accurate projections for space?
Let me ask this question. Zach, how much additional time does it take you guys to wash a truck in the wintertime?
Considerable with the adverse conditions. Trying to complete that.
So that costs you, the city money, right?
Yes.
Because it's added time, because of a functional decrease of a facility. Chief, may I ask you a question? Getting your guys in and out, is it an efficient situation space-wise, or do you have anybody that has a time delay in putting boots on?
We, if I can expound on it too, is that we have a challenge because we have to go to the front door and half the crew has to leave their way through.
Time delay.
And I understand the injury issue, but public safety. Heart attacks, long-term disability. The way the facility is set up there, it is accident waiting to happen. Fire chief out protecting people.
I have a experience of being ex-fireman, unfortunately. And in a rush situation, no, when he gets hurt by something, he's not gonna say anything. He's not gonna say, when he gets hurt, he's not gonna say anything. So you're not gonna have a report. You're not gonna have a report from the police department. You're not gonna have a report from the fire department. You're not gonna get a report from Zach. Okay? But if we go to downtown Minneapolis where you have a person makes a report on a paper cut, that ain't happening up here. And correct me if I'm wrong, you go to South Minneapolis right now, a person's gonna make a business report for a paper cut, and I can pull those rip sheets, so literally. I work for Hennepin County, I watch people just call in reports for absolutely nothing. You're not gonna have it up here. So to ask for that document, it's physically impossible. I understand that part, and I understand wanting it though too.
I have a question about the appraisal piece. Support, especially if you're doing a stepped phase process, if you were able to keep maintenance and whatnot here, as far as long as it was feasible, but yet knew approximately what the appraisal value was or what the percentage increase projected is, you know, how long or what amount would be able to go toward a new maintenance. I think that for me would be helpful to know what, because maybe it can't all happen at once. It's a big chunk for the community, but I think that knowing that obviously the buildings are not perfect for what we need them to be, and then just knowing what the next step is for this space. I don't know that we want to pay taxes on two big chunks of land and all that either. Maintain it.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, the city doesn't pay property taxes.
Okay, thank you.
But we would have to pay bond.
Yes.
You know, if we did finance it.
Question?
Oh, yeah, actually, maybe I missed it somewhere, but
There is money.
how much do we have to work with?
I don't know what the dollar amount is, but I know there is money.
Do you know?
So,
Unfortunately, we're not gonna be privy to that at this particular moment stage of the game, because that's just, there's money in CDs and stuff like that that the city has, that there's money.
so, Mr. Chair, the,
Question about that
Let me-
question. I mean,
Right.
to,
correct.
But it's a good question, though,
Right, but
Yeah.
as a community member, I don't want my tax.
100%.
So, Mr. Chair, that's what I was gonna say is, we're trying to follow kind of, if you look at the way Brunton had outlined their study, they talked to the department, said, what's your issues? Okay, this is what we think your space needs is, here's kind of a building design, and then they came up with a number. And then the next part of that would be looking at how you finance that number, or whether you have to scale back. So as this committee is working, we toured the existing facilities. We're looking at kind of space needs, and we have people from the fire department and city hall that can kind of help walk us through that part of it. We'll go tour some other facilities to get a sense of what that is, and then we can put that number down on this plan, the updated number, and say, this is what it costs, and would have the ability to have the city's financial consultant say, okay, here's some financing options for that. So you can actually kind of equate it down to a tax number, to a tax impact.
Because I like the option of not spending any money at all.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think.
Yeah, it's physically impossible to say that, but, I mean, that's how I think. If I don't have, I don't buy.
Tax capacity, so the value of Baldwin Township is one. The value of the city of Baldwin is 1.2 billion. All of the buildings and all the land and everything that's in Baldwin Township. So out of that, we have a borrowing capacity of 3%. And also too, that, some of that.
Yes.
Yeah, and if, I'm not sure what, but you can see the treasury reports for what that is. We have $1 million. As a whole,
right click.
So in our agenda packet, which is on our website, you'll,
Right up there.
Just a little bit.
There, one more. One more.
Can't see
There you go.
where it is. Can't see.
You can get,
Also,
you got it, you got it.
Here's our, we have $1 million CD. And the rest of this is interest at the city council. From the county to back tax.
everybody knows you pay your taxes in 2 installments, right? So we have another one that's actually ag, that comes to us too, that comes at different times. But basically, we get about 70%, 30%, what we actually let. And as a board, as a council, we have been extremely conservative. Through the incorporation process, we found out that we have the lowest taxes of all of the cities surrounding us, and all but one of the townships, and that's not gonna grow to 50. We also have our local tax force, the county is the same. Baldwin versus Princeton. So we have done our level best to hold this at, almost bare minimum. We don't have huge nest eggs because the question has always become, say, like a fire truck. If we're gonna buy a fire truck, we have one that's coming here, it's gonna be 4-year delivery on the fire truck, $1.1 million, right? So do we take and raise the levy to garner that 1.1 million to have it? Or do we bond for it and pay the interest? By doing that, the bonding for it, we have dollars we can put towards it. So the question becomes, and we have other funds in here too, if you want to, all of this stuff, you can have, you look at it for your arts. We have a capital funds, right? So the question becomes, how big does that fund get before it's really be holding $500,000? Has been the standard so far.
Mayor, have you charted out if we were to max bond, what the tax base obligation for our households would be?
Oh, gosh, no. First of all, 26 million scares the heck out of me.
No, I understand that. But if you bonded for your roads and you bonded for your building and you bonded for the new truck and you bonded for all these things that you have down on paper, if you bonded for those items, have you charted to what those tax base numbers would be prior to actually doing it? So therefore, if somebody were to ask you, what's it gonna cost me? Is it gonna cost me another $100 a year? Is it gonna cost me $1,000 a year? That number is visual.
It is all going to.
I know it's speculation, but I'm just asking.
And it would be speculation at best because we don't know what the bond rate is going to be.
I understand that.
That's a huge piece of it. But I mean, if you want to do simple math, there's 3,300 households in the city of Baldwin. Businesses, households, So, I mean, 26 million divided by 3,300.
Okay.
And then usually a bond is something like, if we were going to do 10 million or 12 million, say for a facility, or 15 million, ultimately, we would spread that over 20 years. We could do it up to 30 years if we wanted to, but.
And Mr. Chair, if I could just kind of add to a point the mayor made. Cities don't typically try to save up to build a building because then you're taxing the current residents to generate that reserve money. They're not benefiting from the money they're paying to the government. Plus, in order to collect enough to accumulate funds to account for inflation and increased construction costs, et cetera, it'd be cheaper in the long run to bond, build the building, and move forward. So that's typically why cities undertake capital projects like buildings through bonding, so that you're putting the facility in, it ends up being more affordable, and the people paying for it are benefiting from it.
Mayor, what's the standard bonding time for a road versus obviously a building you just mentioned? So road's 10, building might be 20, maybe longer.
Again, it depends
No,
on
just asking
what
for a
the
norm.
size of the bond is gonna
Yep.
be, to make it. But
So
10
a
years.
road is
We did
normally 10.
136th Street, and that was 10 years.
Okay.
But in reference to the bonding rate, I get that, but it's just like looking at, it's a different topic, but mortgage rate. You can have a flash mortgage rate of what it is, and you can have an idea of what your total cost is going to be when you get into the project. You know, it might fluctuate 5% to 10% depending on what's happening at the given time, but it gives you an idea of what to look at, trying to make sure you know what the numbers, just to get there. That's the only reason for.
3,300 homes, sorry, excuse me. $26 million would be $7,878 per household. If we want to divide that by 20 years, let's say.
So, Mr. Chair, I think the numbers,
No closing costs.
Yep, I understand that, but it just gives the group an idea of how you're projecting the numbers when you mention the word bonding. A lot of people don't understand the bonding process and don't understand it's a loan and how that loan figures out, but they understand mortgages. So if you break it down the way you did, and at least a person understands what's functionally being asked of the group, and where's it going to? If you look at your roads being done and all of a sudden they have good roads in front of them, it's an easier pill to swallow than the flash of a building, okay? Just how it's been presented to me. Smoke and mirrors, this is great. I'm never gonna use it. Everybody that's doing customer service is going to benefit from this and it's never gonna do anything for me. Not my words. But my street in front of me has had potholes and we complained about it for the last 10 years. Okay, so if a person understands my roads are being projected to be done during this time frame, and we're also doing, that's just what the question that comes at.
Mr. Chair, the road in front of your house is a county road.
But I'm not complaining about my road. I'm talking about the conversations that I have at the side of, my road's good.
Let me talk some more about roads and bonding. Now that we're a city, and if there's MSA money available, municipal state aid money, so if you're going to use some of that, so then to pay for that road may not go against the 26 million, that's your bonding capacity. Am I correct or not?
Yes, no, okay, Mr. Chair. Yes, so the MSA dollars that he's talking about, as a city, we are eligible for that. We never would have had the capability of receiving it. Our number, we have 20 miles of MSA roads in the city, which is to the state $575,000 every year from the state. Our road and bridge budget is $880,000. Now, what we can do with that is we could take those dollars, we're going to receive that every year, be able to receive that every year. We can take those dollars and we can put them directly towards projects. Or we can use that to service the debt. So basically what we have is $500,000 roughly worth of bonding capabilities per year. So the way
We're only
bonds
bonding
work,
for roads.
what, for roads, yes. This, so basically, when we do the bonding, we take out the bond, we have to write the bond, we're selling stuff to people, right? So that's what it is, right? So we're selling the bonds, so the bonds need to be created. They create the bonds, they sell the bonds, we get the money. Now what happens is every year is there's a one lump sum, it's not like a monthly payment. So in the case of 136th Street, whatever, that was roughly 4% is what that interest rate was. All this stuff had to be created.
oh, Mary Apple?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so attorney's fee, anyway, done it, right? So now that is amortized out over a 10-year schedule, and on year one, we pay $141,000. And on year two, we'll pay $123,000. West also said that won't go against our bonding capacity. And so it will. So on road projects, when we do road projects, we have never assessed any portion of our road projects to any of the residents. So we've always said our road and bridge budget was going to be, and projects were going to be whole paid for by everybody. So we're not going to say, continue with doing that, we will never, ever be able to bond for anything. If we decided to start to assess, it has to be, I think, 40% of the project. 40% of whatever this project is to the homeowners, you know, spread it over 10 years and they would try and make it affordable, but it wouldn't necessarily be. If we assess 40% of the project to the people, now the bonding debt that we take does not go against the 26 million.
I would tell you, City of Blaine, all our roadway projects are bonded and the assessments to the property owners who benefit from that roadway project is at 35.
They're getting paid
Roadway project
twice.
you do in the City of Blaine assesses the property owners who benefit from that roadway project. And those assessments have gone anywhere from $200 to, there's several out there this year, there's $7,000. You have 30 days
So-
to pay it interest-free, or it's a 15-year payment that gets added to your property taxes for 15 years.
So is Blaine getting paid twice?
No. So the way the City of Blaine does the roadway projects, bringing up the property assessments the mayor was talking about, is the City of Blaine does the standard process. We do the engineering, we do all the roadway projects, our city council blesses it, the city pays for the entire project as a whole.
Okay.
But they take that total amount at the end, we get all the invoices and itemizations and whatever's from all the contractors, and we get that final bill. And they take that and 35%. Now, not everything can also be assessed. There are certain things that the city has to pay for itself. Not everything can be part of that assessment cost. 35% of that project is then broken up amongst the property owners that directly benefit from that.
100th Street and 297, these are the projects that are on the agenda. So if we took 35% of that, and we assessed that to the 74 homes that are along that area, that becomes $18,918 per house. Right? And if we divide that by 10 years.
The density in Blaine is significantly
Correct.
than the density
Yeah,
here,
that's
which is
why-
why those assessments are different numbers, for sure.
That's really why we have not done it.
Correct.
Okay.
I have a question about how that works though, because like I'm on 136, was very excited about it. I'm actually on a development road, 299. So how does that work with a lot of the developments then? Would the whole development be? That's
For 136?
for 136.
You weren't on, well, and, Dan, this is gonna be.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, it's typically where you benefit from, so the city will look at where your driveway is.
Yeah, it's off at 299.
Yep. Some cities used to do it by, you'd assess by front foot, and if you had a corner lot, you'd be assessed for both frontages. But cities moved away from that because
It's not fair.
the problem is the city also has to be able to justify the amount of the assessment, that your property value increased by the amount of the assessment. So cities have moved away from either not assessing at all like Baldwin or finding other sources of funding to reduce that assessment if they don't eliminate.
It's not just us.
Because the other complaint is that if you get assessed, well, you feel like you're paying twice because you're already paying property tax and now you're paying specifically for the public street in front of you. And that's a philosophical debate that's beyond the scope of this committee, so.
Just suffice it to say that we beat up our attorneys fairly well, actually, because they really want to. Well, and I think because they're believing like Blaine has, you know what I mean? If it wasn't 74 homes on there, if it was 374 homes, well, all of a sudden this starts looking, with 2.5 acre minimum lot sizes in the city. thoughts were always to try and
And
Have
that,
people had a problem with that?
No.
So do we have any other questions on our study?
Yeah, a couple of questions. So one is back to 269.01 ETC. The, this is 2485. And Mr. Mayor, you were referencing 3,300 households in some of your.
that's commercial parcels as well.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
but it's changed 800 households in.
No, this is residential households. He's talking tax parcels.
Yes.
Okay.
What are you trying to calculate?
Man, just trying, I'm a numbers guy.
I know, but that's why I'm asking, what are you trying to calculate?
But, no, I'm trying to understand the numbers. Back to, the math was like $400 per household on whatever is being proposed. 3,300 versus 2,495 changes the math equation significantly. That's my point.
Yeah, but he was throwing out arbitrary numbers that weren't, he was just giving an idea of some summation, that's all. He wasn't trying to give a definitive.
800 difference on the equation. A lot.
I get
It's
it.
a big difference. Okay.
Yeah, the difference is tax parcels versus households, residential households.
Got it. Understood. So my second question is there any kind of data that would per household versus the building size that would say, okay, I'm back to the building size, is it the right size, or is it too small, is it too big, whatever? It seems like there should be some way we can quantify are we within the goalpost? Or are we way too small, way too big?
Well, we could go backwards into it to see what the township was at 50 people and go from there. Because you have a gauge of estimated change over time. So if you look at the size of this building when they started it, and you look at 10 years down the road of what the facility's capacity is, like just from plain old storage, we could go backwards and calculate that.
But my point is more, is there some sort of benchmark? I don't know, I don't even know the township. Next township over, what's over there now? Now that is like the right size, that is the coup de grace. And what is that building size, what is the township, the number of households? We're way too big, or we're just about right. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Just
Mr. Chair?
Some way to quantify.
I think that's a good question to ask when we go on the tours of the facility, is how did they size their facility relative to population? And then for the meetings subsequent to the tours, we can try and generate something to that.
I'm a small business owner. So, back to the bonds, I'm just thinking like, okay, so the community has to pay back these bonds over 20 years. Are we figuring in maintenance for this brand new beautiful building?
We haven't even got to cost yet.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, that's something like we should maybe think about.
Yep.
The more we're gonna have to eventually.
I think I think you're 100% correct that should be part of the planning process of an overall build. Just like the facility, the people that need to take care of it, the workers that, just to facilitate. Because you get larger, you get more requirements. And the 10-year down the road repair, the roof repair, all that longevity stuff, that has to be considered as far as maintenance goes, along with, maintenance of everything around it.
So on that, we already have an idea of what the maintenance was. Both, then you have double maintenance, I would suppose, if we're maintaining.
Yeah,
Maintenance on,
that,
do you mean maintenance on doing maintenance, as in cleaning?
Well, maintenance as far as, you know, just building
no, there's
maintenance
building,
and, you know,
roofing,
snow plowing, all that,
carpet,
yeah.
walls,
In general.
wiring, all the stuff that to take care of a facility is maintenance.
Fixing roof leaks.
Your fishing works leaks that have been neglected, the driveway, the concrete that's been neglected, that's maintenance that hasn't been done. Even, I mean, even at a low budget, that's maintenance that hasn't been done. And that calculation of overall numbers of size is a perfect calculation of if we're too big, how we maintain that and why are we paying for it? If we're too small, we're just creating the problem again.
Mr. Chair? So the bonding discussion and maintenance costs are things that obviously do need to be discussed, but we're kind of jumping ahead to the, first we kind of got to decide what the space need is and whether that can be met here, fixing it, new building, or somewhere in between. So that's why we put the Brunton space study in, and with two members of the fire department and the chief here, who were obviously directly involved in that, if they want to kind of walk through the exhibits, talking about, you know, the initial study that and questionnaire interviews that Brunton did, and then kind of the space needs that are outlined based on those interviews for the current facilities as well as kind of initial projections.
Mr. Chair, before we move on to that, I just want to make a comment. I'd like to thank the staff that's here.
100%.
It's very important, I believe, to have, you know, the staff coming to these meetings. Zach and Phil and the chief and the mayor. I mean, it's so important. If we have questions, we've got the people here to answer it. So I'd like to thank them, you know, for being here. I don't, you know.
Thank you guys personally.
Here on this time, and the chief and Zach.
Hey,
and
we're
Phil,
all in
so-
this together.
Well, that's
There's
true,
what
but,
affect
you
all
know,
of us.
everybody has other places they could be, and, you know, I do appreciate that they're here. So.
Thank you, thank you. So let's go through what was the
The meeting notes from.
meeting notes from, who wants, that was attending that meeting that had a part of it, wants to speak in reference to that. Chad? Are you willing to do it?
We're gonna start on where we did the space assessment, where we sat down and came up with these.
Which page?
It would be,
It's not page number to be, look like this one.
I think it's
On,
this one?
the background study one.
You're going through the space, the Brunton Space Needs Facility Plans?
yes.
Okay.
So what was their background on how they put the space needs together? Did they give an explanation of that before they did it?
They did, so
Richard.
they had all of us sit down, as in the fire department sat down, city sat down, kind of Joan, and when we did it, we came up with what we needed for, like, we need this many offices, this. They, from doing all their other stuff, know the sizes of everything to make it all quick. So we gave them what we were looking for items, and then they put it into this spreadsheet. And, because we didn't know like what sizes an office need to be, standard office, they had all that in their calculations. From doing they built fire departments and city halls, so they kind of knew all that stuff. We just gave the items we needed, and then they put it together. And this was the first one, they put this together, and then the bubble sheet was what they came up with that you see here. The one that's at the end is kind of how it came out.
So just to confirm, the area column is actual, correct? The middle column is the actual current.
Yes,
Okay, got it.
that's
Not
what,
current.
not current, that's,
Not current.
that was the whole project, that was how they did it.
Oh, okay, that was
The area and the proposed was the second one.
So on that graph
Square
where it
footage.
says area, so for example, for the service counter, one service counter is 110 square feet. But if you look down here at open offices, cubicles, 6 of them at 80 square feet. So that's the total in the building.
So that's the way they did it. So they did that, and then from what we gave them, that we were our want list, for the city's want list, the fire department's want list, and then they made this, and this bubble sheet for us. And it came with a, I don't know, it was a big number, really big number. So we knew we had to downsize and do it. But the way they started it was we have to give them everything that we think we could possibly need. The firefighter, the couple of us that were on it, and the chief, we went to 4 or 5 different fire departments / fire departments, city halls together, to get, and then we sat down and came up with what we thought we needed. We gave them that, the city had what they thought they needed, we gave them that, and they came up with the bubble sheet here at the end. And we realized right away that that was gonna be way more than what we need. After you put it on the sheet and you saw it all, and then we started picking it apart, and that, the sheet that Chad gave you, that's where we ended after almost a year. Was it, from the start to the finish, was that about a year, Chief? Hard to say.
Probably close to it.
And then that's where we ended and we stopped, but that was a lot of meetings with them. And
This bubble diagram is a little off from what I handed you guys too, just so y'all know. That one I handed you guys is actually the final, so it's off a little bit from what you see here. Sorry, I apologize for it.
Question?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Brian a question. You pretty much answered it, but I want to tie you down a little bit if I can. There are figures what you want, figures what you need.
correct,
You expressed that you went through what you wanted
yes,
and then cut it back to what you need.
correct,
And so I think that's a good place to start, what you need. And then we need to look at how you're going to grow and maybe get back some of that stuff that you wanted.
correct.
And I think that's where we're at. We
Yeah.
need those figures, what you need plus what you think you're gonna grow realistically and what you want for that. And
But even at where we ended, we, I think we were projecting 30 years out? The chief might be able to put, I think we were projecting 30 years out for what we need.
We're looking at this facility to last 70 to 100 years. And I worked in the unfortunately, this building is just beyond 20 years. And that kind of thing. So we're looking at 70 to 100 year building. There were some spots for some duty crews. So we were looking at what do we possibly need without having to then we have to cut back from there. And there's certainly I would say the bays should probably stay what they are because the equipment doesn't get any smaller. The office space, that kind of stuff, typically the office space is almost double what the bays cost per square foot. So that was kind of our thing going into this, looking at what we need and trying to get a number to come back and say, okay, what are we gonna have? And certainly there are things that, you know what, we'll figure it out and we'll add it on later.
eventually, we're gonna, eventually down the road here, before we close our mission here, we're gonna have to have some reasonable expectations of what the cost is
Right,
gonna be. For your building. I want you to have everything that you need.
Right.
And a bunch of what you want, but, money's money and there's a breaking point.
but, and typically in a fire station, it's just like hot zone, you have your warm zone, you have your cold zone. hot zone is when you come back from a fire, you have all that stuff that's dirty, that part of the fire station. Size initially was something we really wanted to have, needed to have. The office space, that can be adjustable. And we can figure it out.
I could add to what Chief Case had said. If you do notice that there is an upstairs to this facility, and a lot of that, we took and got rid of a lot of it and left it a wide open concrete space for future expansion. So that also took down a lot of the space and cost as well. Yep, the other one.
This one.
That one I handed out as an upstairs, but like I said, we made
Yeah,
a lot of it
I
a
saw that.
concrete area that we can either use for training for now and future expansion.
So we haven't asked the question though of maintenance, even if it was to be left here, and the facilitation of that with the needs of Zach and those guys. Yeah.
There hasn't been much investigation.
I mean, because that's something that if we're going to either use this spot or not use this spot, that's something that needs to be in consideration and
And looking through this, has the sheriff, a sheriff's department or a deputy,
We inquired with the sheriff's department whether they wanted to. Fortunate thing is they already have a facility just north of Cinnamon. Requirements, because it's a public safety answering point and it would have been a backup, they would have to bring in two separate EMS, North Ambulance has stated that that would help cover maintenance. Call volume, and the call volume, as I said, is
Chief, did you do any consideration of a short device or short stay for your ambulance crew? Because I know like Lionel has a short stay, 2-room bedroom type thing for the ambulance crew because for their
well, and
overnighters.
that's part of the thing is currently we do not have a duty crew.
I'm not talking about the duty crew that's
Right.
fire station. I'm talking about
Right.
duty crew that's the ambulance.
Well, that would be a shared facility.
Okay.
The ambulance would be able to use that facility. Currently, we don't do that. Set up there. So you have an ambulance crew, you have
Got it.
number of calls that come out of that facility. 585. There's three, we're projecting to be over that.
The number of fire and how that breaks down between fire and
I think I had that last time. It was about, I want to say it was about 40 some for the year. But I thought I had that on the left. Typically, the fires, because of the distances we have to go, farther than they do in the cities. Because we are not stationed at the station. You have to think about 3 minute response to the station, 3 to 5 minute response to the station. Fires get going more, so especially in this area. About 25% of our calls are non-medical.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. Those 300 and some odd calls that you have, is it broken down anywhere into, like I said, the number of fires that you go on, the number of meds that you go on, and the backups that you go on?
Yep. If I thought I needed that, I have it done. So when we do our annual updates every year,
Well, the reason I ask is because a lot of people, and myself included partially, they say, well, you're a fire department, how many fires do you roll on? Well, that's not everything you do. Fires, medical, you know, you run those two together. Backup calls or call-ups that are just for backup. I think it would be good for us to know, because we're not just looking at fire trucks here, we're looking at.
we'll make sure that we have that.
Can we get it?
Breakdown for the last few years.
Can we get an email of that by chance, just so we have it? Or maybe even hard copy? Because that way it answers those questions, because that's an ongoing question.
For example, 10 years, and this was just total number of calls, 10 years. Call, 10, 20 call, and our population's going up, and that's one of the things to always remember about populations and what kind of population you have, whether you have a young population. Currently, Baldwin is a little bit of a mix, but we do have some. A higher rate. And also your socioeconomic, tend to go to the lower income level areas of Baldwin Township. There's a few places. Higher income areas. Certainly, if you have depending on your population base, you'll have a way higher volume in with the same population and a different. You always have to figure that in. Yeah, that's the one I thought I sent it. Oh, you sent it they sent it to you. Ah, okay. So, okay, I said, so in 2024, we had 349 calls, we had 38 fires, 23 structure fires. So the fires themselves are separate from the structure fire.
What was those numbers again, Chief?
On Jones' computer here.
Left a copy too for
Yeah,
everybody.
so it's 349 calls for service, I don't have the right class, 38 fires, 23 structure fires. So all total there, you're at 61, right? halls that were fire. And we had other type halls in there too, so. Oh, okay. I thought I sent it to you, it just went to one of yours, I don't remember.
Chair. And then when you're looking at the plans, things that we had, just, was that the city council chambers there? The plan that we came up with, you can see a dashed line through there. It was being able to split it up so you could have, city council could be, that chambers could be separate from the rest, and you could have a small type gathering. We talked about it being kind of like Zimmerman's, that's a lot bigger. But that was just something, like a community center. This was a smaller type. I don't remember the number, I don't know if chief or mayor, I don't know if you guys remember the number that we could have in that.
150.
The 150 people, in this size that we.
Small wedding.
We had here. It was a small wedding, yeah.
It's also a fundraiser.
Was it?
Could be a fundraiser.
Election space.
Election space, party,
Well, that's-
small
that's
wedding.
one of the
That makes
reasons
a lot of
we were-
sense.
That's one of the reasons we looked at that kind of thing, and you could separate them out, so, Ward 1 could be,
Probably just
Basic one could be in one area.
by space.
I have a quick question on, if any furniture or any of that was estimated here anywhere,
No.
because that's another expense.
None of the furnishings were in any of these numbers, just the
So-
building construction.
Just the
Since-
building and
Since we're mentioning the numbers, let's look at the proposed space and walk through the individual space areas of requirements so we can, just have an idea of what was being asked and what we're actually looking at as a plan. Because you had a very valuable information of growth size and whether it's gonna be big enough or not, so that this kind of helps answer that question on what the projected vestibules,
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, I think this is helpful because it kind of adds to, okay, you've got this many people that need offices, but what else goes with that? The corridors, the vestibules, the bathrooms.
counter,
The counters.
lobby waiting area.
And the new data, or the newer requirements like, quiet rooms that are incorporated as part of all new construction.
Yeah.
Quiet rooms.
It's a requirement that you have a room that a mother can go do their thing in, or you can go sit in. Blaine City Hall had to make a room dedicated.
Yeah.
for just
You
that.
can curl up and fall.
Well,
Used to call that like a change.
changing rooms, nursing rooms, nursing room,
It also works if someone suffers from.
PTSD.
medical- Yeah.
a medical moment where a doctor has to pull, or medical system has to pull somebody aside because they got upset because somebody said something and while they're in the meeting, they can take them aside and wait till the sheriff gets there.
They also put them typically right by the HR room so that if someone's fired, they can go in there.
We label
Calm
ours
down.
our wellness rooms.
Yeah.
Anybody can use it.
Mhm.
But yes, it was a requirement that we added.
So you look at the council chamber size, the area proposed, AV booth area, tables, chair storage, which is warming kitchen.
Chair, if I may, some of the background to that. About 15 years ago, we had a community visioning session. Funded through a grant through the Initiative Foundation. That was actually pretty good. And it got a lot of people involved and a lot of people were looking for community.
Still are.
And I mean, and this, that depiction is probably about a 40 by 60 area.
Right.
Also keep it, well, you know, we cleaned out all the equipment back there and we had doors open. So I don't think that we're never gonna have 7,000 people.
Yep.
Let's see what happens with the fire bans. But at any rate, and then the thought was, because of some of these things like the kitchenette, we are going to have a community center. probably are gonna want somewhere to eat house food or whatever, and do we need that as a city council in the meeting room?
It's possible, because you might be doing something of benefit for your people that work for you.
Right, well, that too, but, you know, I mean, anyway, the whole
Yeah,
point
yeah.
is that, some of the facility was there, and then I think Joan was staff, about what they need for rooms and things like that. Hopefully behind glass, or at least not, you know, right from the door, and those types of things. And that's how that, came. Go ahead.
It was just along with the furnishings and whatnot, that would be something that I'd be interested in knowing when we go to these other locations, how much of their budget that included, because, I mean, we've got the kitchens, and we've got the appliances, and, you know, whole shebang, it's not a cheap thing, you wanna make sure we got that in.
Very good.
You can have an open office space, but you have to put things in it. So you have to have that
Chairs, tables, rugs.
Question?
And Mr. Chair, I don't mean to interrupt, but
My
price as well.
My comment was going to be, no matter what is built, when it's built, whatever, like the design, but we need to keep in mind, if we're gonna have a 50-year building, I'm gonna go conservative. We need to make sure that this building is expandable. Because you look at the city hall portion right now, that might be good for 10 years,
Right.
12 years, 15 years, whatever it is. If this is a 50-year building, it's going to have to go out.
Somewhere.
So when you're laying it up, or up, thank you. So when you're laying it out, let's make sure we don't pinch ourselves that, oh boy, we shouldn't have done it this way, it should have been turned or whatever, because we can't expand the city hall portion out or whatever. So we always gotta keep in mind that this could grow over time, especially if it's.
And when we did this, that was part of the plan, with Brutton, where we set it up at this angle. The walls that they have their prefab walls, they could remove any one of these walls and add 3 walls, and you got another whole section. The whole thing was gonna be set up so you could remove a wall and add on to the whole thing. That was the plan when we came up with it.
That's good to know. Go ahead, Jim. Question?
Just to add on what you're saying, if we get to 50 years, 75 years, I'm not gonna be here, but if we get to 25 years, 30 years, and we have outgrown that fireplace, then we have to face the choice of, do we add on to that building or make a substation?
Right.
Depending on how the town grows. This is gonna be centrally located, virtually. So down the road, 25, 30, 40 years, you may say, okay, we've outgrown this for what we need to do. Maybe we need to build another substation
On the east
where, south side, whatever, at that time. I don't think we need to consider all of that at this time. It's nice to be able to expand.
Yeah, we haven't built this one yet, so I think before we go.
My
So-
point was, let's just make sure that when this.
No, I get that,
one's
but
built,
it's substation wise.
that you've always got it for the potential for growth.
One more question.
Just to talk about this a little bit, so I've been in fire service for a long time. This station is as big, honestly, you do not wanna add on to that station on that site. It's all about response time, and hang on that station is not gonna improve the response time. The substation that's why in the thought process was talking about a substation over on. Wanted to clarify the fire station part of that, that's as big as it should ever.
Mr. Chair, so as the committee's thinking about forming recommendations, the recommendation that the city hall facility needs to be expandable, The fire station, though, this is the ultimate facility, so then the recommendation is consider sites where substations would be located in the future.
The city council then starts looking for purchasable sites.
Right.
That they can have.
But the recommendation starts here to say, oh, you should probably start looking for sites for substations and lock that down before it's gone.
So this station was really built, not to knock the people that
Move
work
forward.
here. This is a really poor location for a station. Not that that facility is absolutely central, it's fairly central, but we have the ability to get across. Not here, and
With lights and sirens.
yeah, it delays. the
Good question.
response. And even with being farther south, we can just jump on 169 and that helps with the funding.
That's an
But you also
issue.
gotta remember, you've gotta get the firefighters there. Okay, so, you know, with access here versus 45 and 9, look at all the different ways that the potential firefighters in the future not at the station, so you gotta get your people there.
In terms of long-term planning too, the planning commission has dealt with this, looking at 169. MnDOT doesn't have a long-term plan for 169 beyond the interchange in Zimmerman. But you can guarantee they're not gonna allow more accesses, and they'll probably start trying to close them down or put J-turns in and make it more difficult to cross except at night.
That's one of my fears, is that they're gonna.
Or they'll make it
Or
a
go
J
to
turn
the
with slower.
super J's, yeah.
Do it, they get up by long siding area there on 12 and all that.
You can't go straight across, you have to go down and turn around, go back.
That's
Did you have a-
the response.
Alongside has one.
Did you have a
Yeah,
question?
about 12 north has one.
You have a question?
My question, let me think if I can remember it.
Well, we'll come back to it.
Yeah, I have one more comment just about long-term planning.
Driveway or two, because I know there's kind of a approach from the backside on 9.
Both 45 and 9.
That's on that.
Do you just
So just looking at the town administration section of the building plan, it anticipated 3 offices. Obviously, that's more than the staff that's here every day, but looks kind of to the future. You know, currently Joan is effectively the administrator, the clerk, and the finance department all in one. Does an excellent job at that.
Kudos to Joe.
Very much so. Very much so.
Eventually, she's gonna need help or retire, so.
Or walk out.
Or walk out, yeah. So anticipating some more executive type spaces where privacy is required, but then open office space for up to 6 cubes. You know, in a situation like that, that works well for the current staffing model where I could drop in and work here for an afternoon, the engineers and their inspectors could be here, the building official, their inspectors, the assessor. It's just space where we can come in and take care of what we need to do here with the staff that's in place versus trying to do it over the phone or internet. Can never underestimate the amount of storage that cities need for records, even if you're doing electronic. And especially when it comes to elections and the need for secured spaces. Just kind of some of the standard amenities that are now typical in city administrative offices would be a bathroom separate from the public facility as well as the break room so that they don't have to eat at their desk or in a meeting room. And then, like we've talked about here, having a separate meeting room that's designated for staff level meetings so that if I'm sitting here meeting with property owners, other people aren't walking through and if disrupting the meeting or making people feel not welcome to come in the space, so. Thoughts on too much space, enough space, right amount of space on that? Oh,
Emergency tornado area.
Fire station itself would be hard. Part of the front flag. Fire station would be hard for that. You guys remember what they said was?
Yeah, more than we've ever had to go through. It was, I don't remember, because it had the same roof as the sides, it was one of the roofs that you never have to do maintenance on.
what's not really addressed in this is the fire station ends up being the emergency operations center. So that if a natural disaster happens, that's where everything's gonna be managed out of. So even if the city hall portion of the building's flat and the fire hall's still gonna be there, it's still gonna be open and capable.
One thing I will add to that too, with this building, especially with ours, we actually have a storm shelter built within the building that has its own separate air, power, everything, so.
Going in today, especially schools, that's not necessarily true, because I had a school expand and add 8 classrooms, and they were just able to fortify those 8 classrooms.
Sure.
And classify those as the storm shelter, but they operate, they weren't separate.
Yep.
They didn't have their own air handling, but they are classified as the storm shelters for that wing of the school.
Yeah.
So, and even the new emergency management operations center for the entire state of Minnesota doesn't.
Yeah, I just know that
Building.
our city hall that Broughton did and fire station has it, and so does Newport, and vast majority of theirs that they have. Thrown it
A
all.
little bit more about
So it's an internal structure that's precast, a room inside the building for severe weather, that has its own air supply, communications. Again, I don't know if it's code in every building, but just, that's what we got.
In this design, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, in our design.
Not in this one, in St. Francis.
Yeah, yep.
Mr. Chair, in this design, the second story floors would be precast panels as well. And then also the roof on the entire fire facility would be precast panels. So rather than steel trusses and membrane rocks, this would actually be precast panels. The whole thing would be ultimately fortified.
That's what St. Francis has?
No,
What's that?
no,
That's what St. Francis
no.
has?
No, they didn't go with that, so that's why
Yeah.
they added that building.
Yep.
When we were looking at it, we were doing the fire station being completely fortified, so we wouldn't have to have a special place.
Got it.
Chair, suffice it to say, everything in pink on here.
That's on the screen right here. Where would the public works?
That was not included in that.
But that is part of what Chad handed out
Right.
Yes.
in the other document that you received.
Okay.
You will see what the public works would look like, and then a schematic layout of the public works maintenance facility.
That would be additional cost to make some renovations to the current.
No, the renovations for this have nothing to do with that. So them staying here, they wouldn't have to change much to stay here if they went and use the current fire station. It will facilitate what they need in that building as far as maintenance type things go because of the roof size is higher and there's other things that they can use that facility as. That is different from this particular projection is a whole new facility down on the other location.
But this would stay, the 17
Correct.
million would buy it.
No,
This would stay. This would
no,
not
this,
stay.
so if they did this, they wouldn't need this over here.
Okay.
This could be sold.
This portion.
This portion, this whole portion would be gone, or could be sold, or
If-
leased
yeah,
out, or,
if you put maintenance
Right.
along, public works along with the entire city campus, let's call it. This 10 acres could be sold.
But you can't do partial?
Yes, you could.
We
We
could
could
This
divide
building
this
in
up and
itself.
sell this building.
Is it on, like you do 5 acre?
We would have to see where it would split, but yes.
Somewhere right down the middle of that parking lot.
subdivided.
That'd be
Well, and there's another thing that's interesting too. That cell tower that's out there, that is owned by a company called SBA. They give us $1,600 a month. Along with the agreement for that tower being there. So part of selling this facility, if we kept that as the maintenance facility, let's say, then we would keep the cell tower as well. Knowing that that easement for the cell tower. Or if we decided that we were gonna, like Mr. West said, have the entire campus down there, then we're also, that's quite a carrot. Literally, I think if that were the case, this would get broken off. The inlet out here, whatever would be for this, and then still be able to get in out there. And then what would be the maintenance building as if we kept it as that, would have that access, maybe would share, we'd see, if nothing else, we could go south.
Just off of what Mayor Swanson just said, just out of curiosity, will all of maintenance's equipment fit in the fire station? I don't think all of their equipment will fit in there, so I just had to ask the question, if we're talking about just keeping that for maintenance and selling off this part, I don't know if they'll all fit in there, just so we are all under the same understanding. Is that true or not true?
Very, very accurate, Chad.
Would it be feasible to keep this building office storage, kind of renovate because we have storage type things issues that have to go on? New facility built, maintenance stays here in this whole campus here, you've got accesses that don't have to change. The cost is gonna be the same of whether you sell it off or not, you're gonna have an asset that you're decreasing to apply to a new asset, but you're still gonna need the space of an old asset. So if you kept this space here, you guys use the whole campus, maintenance-wise, some other type of facilitation of this building-wise, don't know what it could be, but, and the fire station, because there's a whole lot more maintenance stuff that goes on that's not being facilitated as a need at this moment, that would be able to facilitate it better. In keeping this as a campus for maintenance and having that as a campus for fire and city hall.
Yes, I think you could multi-purpose this piece of property.
No, I'm just looking at use of space. You already own it,
Yes.
okay? That one hasn't been built yet, you're already using it to facilitate this building to be used easier, but there's maintenance issues that have to be done here. Like what she said, there still would be maintaining two particular properties as far as maintenance goes. But it would ease in the maintenance of this property if you didn't have everything going on here, because you could renovate and ease the maintenance, cost-wise. Your office comes out of
Phases, yes.
your office comes out of the bay and into the office. Your other facilitation of storage comes out of the bays and into the office, so now the repairs can be made there. You have the other campus that's got fire, you've got safety issues that have been increased, you have response times that have been increased. Jones area has safer space, safer activity. You have space for people to use wedding, for example, that's there. Facilitating that would be beneficial as a whole. now the whole question is what to put together as a proposal, how to use the space as a proposal, which we've gotten a lot of background going into, and additional information coming. And then next, after that, with how to furniture, all the other stuff as far as activity stuff that goes in it, that's part of a proposal type situation. But the maintenance side, we have not addressed in detail like we've addressed the fire. We have not addressed Jones space as we've done the fire. So those two spaces, without those particular spaces, we don't even have a fire department. Without the maintenance of our roads and whatnot, and you guys, we don't even have a city. So regardless of what we want, we have to take care of the things that are important to the city to maintain its own personal structure. Just as far as workload goes.
I think, Mr. Chair, I think the bottom line is the idea of using all or part of this facility as an interim public works to avoid having to spend money to put up a new structure there is feasible.
Absolutely.
What that looks like,
When
'Cause you
we
would-
start segregating this
Yeah.
it's a little more.
that's something that would have to obviously be looked at close, if that's, okay, if the decision is build a new facility, but Public Works stays here, what does Public Works need here?
Here.
Remaining, so, cause if you're talking at least $4 million for a new building, and the county has this property, including the buildings valued at roughly $750,000, so, you know, you're not selling this to offset a lot of costs there. And that's just assessment.
So then if we look at like what Al's talked to me before about what would it cost to do proper maintenance to this building so that it can be used in the future for maintenance, what would that cost? And try to figure that out in making the repairs, roof repairs and that kind of things to keep this another 30 years. I'm just throwing things out there, so don't shoot me. Keep this here, and then that building's there, it's under production, it has the ability to grow, but until that, we need to grow maintenance to go there, you have the ability to have efficiency, safety, security, and a better working process.
I think you're right on, and the bottom line is, what does it cost to upgrade these facilities to make that happen versus?
Yeah, it's gonna be less
Yeah.
to facilitate this for maintenance.
I think there's more room here than there would be down there.
And we do have on the agenda, we had Andy Schrader, the building official, go through each of these buildings to identify specific items that really must be corrected if there's gonna be continued use. And so he's not here tonight, but we can go back and say, can you put a
Number,
cost
yeah.
to some of these items too?
That would be nice to know, because then with knowing that cost, then you're knowing whether it's cost effective to fix here or cost effective to build maintenance there.
Doing a feasibility study to see what in order to make this usable for 20, 30
Yeah.
years as a public works facility.
Okay. Any other questions from the group? I don't want to monopolize all the.
Couple of questions. Maybe this was covered earlier and I missed it. The bonding bill would it be?
No,
The bonding would,
It can be 10 to 30 years.
10 to 30.
10 to
The council would ultimately decide balancing interest payments versus the payoff. Because then part of it is time factor. If you're gonna do a 20-year bond, you probably wanna make this facility last as long as possible to avoid having to
Bond
bond sooner
again.
for another public works facility, so.
So, if we said 20 years, you got 17 million divided by 20 years, divided by 3,300 taxpayer base right now, that's $257 per household for the next 20 years. That makes sense. It makes sense to me when I play it out, but simple.
Yeah, it also doesn't account for that property tax bill is based on the value of your property. And commercial and industrial properties pay a higher effective property tax rate than residential, so they pay more of the tax burden than a home does. So we can have the financial advisor kind of equate that to the median value home in Baldwin as an example as to what a $17 million 20-year bond looks like at current interest rates.
It was when we did this, I think it was like 210 at that time. Right around that when we did the numbers for this, what we had here at the end.
And that was without
For
maintenance?
I think
Maintenance
that was
building? That was
Yes,
fire
was
station.
just
That was-
fire station.
17 million would include maintenance, so if you took. Then that's a different.
But it was,
It's also not a direct payment per
Right.
household, as Dan was saying, it's based on, you're gonna get a number per $100,000 household.
Right.
Some people only have $100,000 houses, other people around lakes have $1 million. They're gonna pay more per taxes every year versus somebody who only has a $200,000. So it's not simply a $250 bill all the way across the board.
Just by example, so Otsego just broke ground on a fire department building yesterday. That's similar in size to this, $136 a year per household. The tax base is obviously much different, but
43,000 people.
Where's it at?
24, it's at 75th and Odine, right in the center of the city.
Can I throw out a to keep this space for maintenance? Would it be feasible to maybe
License and bonding would be the problem with that. Because as soon as they go volunteer and something goes bad, it goes bad against the city.
Now, as the population grows and more houses get built, does that tax bill go down to each household? And a little bit of it goes to the new housing that's being built? Is that a correct statement?
If the budget stays flat and your the value of property goes up, then the tax bill for every house gets smaller. If the budget goes up and parallel to the increase in tax value, everybody's tax bill stays the same. But the theory is you grow your tax base to lessen the burden, especially by adding commercial and industrial, which again was a primary reason for incorporation, to try and bring that in to lessen the residential taxes.
How, I mean, as a resident,
So what the city is doing, the planning commission's working on this, looking at areas of Baldwin that are attractive for commercial and zoning it for that, and then communicating that it's available. Obviously, the interchange at County Road 9 is a prime commercial location. Easy access on and off 169
you own some of that.
at 45.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be the quadrants directly surrounding 169. And then really the benefit is future industrial, because although Baldwin doesn't have sewer and water service, there's great demand for industrial that has outdoor storage allowances, shops, warehousing that doesn't require sprinkling, such as that, so.
I think for 169 is pretty much one form or another. And the object is to find out what how we can cause that to develop. And it, you've got this commercial, you know, and it's nothing but storage facilities, which we should use the southern end of it for something else. But that's all in the mix, so it's positively for this.
Can be septic and well.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Runnings.
I do have one question that maybe Mayor Swanson or any of them can answer, but with this 30 acres of land that is sitting up here with the potential fire department slash city hall only taking up a small portion of it, is that also a spot where future businesses could come in potentially and build something in there to use up the rest of that land for income? Is that?
Lee Farm.
I mean, we do not need 30 acres for our facility. It was a 30-acre piece that became available, and we bought that with COVID. So we didn't raise our levy, there's fire that is paid for. I think if we're gonna put, especially if we're gonna do a campus there. Yes, the things around that seemingly would go there, would have a commercial aspect.
Me too.
We did,
There is a schematic from the original plans that businesses in that.
yes, and, because we talked about it, I researched it for the mayor on a municipal liquor, that would possibly be there. We talked about it, because they make approximately $2 million a year. So it was, we did look at that, we could, either the city could put something on there, or, just like the chief said, the drawings had other companies coming in and having the rest of the
One thing
property,
you
so.
have to, you have to pay attention to when you start. You have to pay attention to, you have the police department here gonna use part of something there. You have to pay attention to the ingress and egress for the fire department, police department.
Yeah.
No business can come in that's gonna interfere with that ingress and egress.
One more question?
Mr. Chair, before next meeting, is it possible to have some numbers attached to the building official report on the repairs needed for the?
Yeah, he had mentioned that earlier about getting.
I know, but I know we talked about it, but.
Getting in writing.
Can we ask that?
Yep.
Yes.
You know, can I say,
Yep.
I'd like to have it before the next meeting?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that just repairs, or is that potential, it's trying to expand the fire station? I mean, is this just repairs to get this up to where it's gotta be, or is this also including expanding the fire department if we wanna try to stay here?
No, I'm asking that if we decided to build a building over at the 30-acre site for fire department and city hall, and this was turned into, I'm gonna say, parks and public works. Okay, what's gonna be needed to make sure it's up to code?
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's my point. Okay.
You got that on his notes,
I
right?
have it noted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other ladies? Right on. Any other questions that you can bring to the table that all of us can benefit from what you guys are talking about?
She was just asking about, going back to, could other properties be commercial, and I was explaining how the properties.
Yeah, they haven't, with the new city, they haven't planned and zoned yet, so there's a lot of planning and zoning that's going on, so that's not set in stone on
So
what.
those are not official parcel
No,
numbers?
but these are already two
Yeah,
parcels.
it exists as two
that exist.
property, it wouldn't look like that. It's, no, it's gonna be combined into one property and then re-divided into multiple, so.
Yeah.
But I was just giving her size reference between the one drawing versus this drawing was what I
Oh,
was
sure.
explaining. Being sizing reference,
Yep.
that's all.
Okay,
So I think in terms of, we can come back to some of this space program after we do the tour facilities, the subsequent meeting, because then you'll have more context into, wow, that's what a new facility looks like, and it will make these easy, these numbers and the bubble diagram easier to understand. I think that's it for that.
I'm curious about this diagram right here. And so I'm looking at 45 and 9, and it shows this roadway here. My house is about right over here. But how would this road come in with that?
So I think that's just a corner of the entire 30-acre piece.
So the
It is.
bottom there is County Road 9. where you're no, the other. Oh, yeah, that's County Road 9.
Yeah, that's
And
9 here.
these are, would be future roads. These are current, and this is just the built-in.
That, what's the potential public works area?
Yeah, that's public.
That-
works
that's
at the
just
bottom.
Up to the property for
So, yeah,
future
but
connections
so
somewhere
like the
else.
house there's a house that sits that's way farther.
Okay.
Way farther. That is about 5 acres of that area. It's not,
If you
not
look at this,
Herding cats,
this is about this square.
right.
So that